Have you ever wondered if love has the power to break all barriers, including those of species? If a single act of kindness can reverberate through time, challenging the very logic of nature? Get your heart ready, because the story you're about to hear isn't just about a man and a lion. It's about a bond few dare to imagine. A love capable of moving mountains and proving that loyalty is a universal language. Just imagine him, an ordinary man, living his quiet life, and destiny, with its mysterious ways, places an helpless lion cub in front of him, pleading for help. It sounds like something out of a movie, doesn't it? But it was real. Absolutely real. What happened? Next was a journey that defied everything we know about human-animal relationships, building a human-animal connection so strong it would become legendary. For years, they lived side by side, in a backyard that transformed into the private world of a king and his protector. The roar that was once a cry for help became a loving greeting, living proof that love blossoms in the most unexpected places. But, like everything in life, time passes, realities change, and one day, the harsh truth knocks at the door. A lion, no matter how much it loves its human, needs its own kingdom, its own home in nature. That farewell, oh, that farewell. It's a lump in your throat just thinking about it. Can you put yourself in that man's shoes, knowing he had to give up his furry child for their own good? It's heartbreaking, isn't it? That day was marked by a heavy silence, broken only by the sound of the engine fading away, taking not only the lion but a piece of Antonio's soul. Just pause and feel that for a moment. Have you ever felt the pain of an inevitable goodbye, even if it was for the good of someone you love? It's a universal feeling, a pang we carry, isn't it? Who hasn't faced a difficult decision knowing their heart would bleed? But life, it's full of twists and turns, and sometimes the universe conspires in our favor in ways we can't even imagine. Years passed, but the memory of that lion, Simba, never faded from Antonio's mind. And what happened next? Well, you have to see it to believe it. His last wish was to see his lion again. The ending is unbelievable. Get ready, because Antonio and Simba's story is just beginning. It was a muggy afternoon, one of those where the air seems to shimmer with heat, when Antonio, an ordinary man, the kind you pass on the street and never imagine the greatness of his soul, received a call. On the other end of the line, a tired voice spoke of a bankrupt, ruined circus with abandoned animals. It seemed like a sad movie scene, and his heart, already overflowing with kindness, skipped a beat. Have you ever felt that something is calling you? A strong intuition, as if the universe is whispering in your ear. Antonio felt it. He went there, and the smell of dust mixed with the mustiness of old tarpaulins almost made him turn back. But then, at the back of a rusty cage, huddled and trembling, there he was, a lion cub, tiny, with frightened eyes and a weak meow that sounded more like a lament. Antonio, without a second thought, knew this would be his rescue. He saw there not a wild animal, but a life that needed love. Taking a lion cub home? Sounds crazy, I know. But for Antonio, it was the only sensible thing to do at that moment. And that's how Simba arrived in his backyard. Transforming an ordinary backyard into a home for a lion cub was a daily adventure. Antonio spent hours playing with him, teaching him to roll in the fresh grass and chase a ball like a giant kitten. The sound of his laughter mixed with Simba's childish roars, creating a unique melody. Can you believe a lion can be taught to give a paw? Simba learned, and more. He returned Antonio's affection with rough but tender licks. Lion cubs, just like domestic cats, purr. It's a sound they use to communicate with their mother and express comfort. And Simba purred for Antonio as if he were his great lioness mother. Isn't that awesome? This daily coexistence wove a human-animal connection that was almost palpable. Antonio learned about the strength and beauty of wildlife, and Simba about the kindness and patience of a human heart. This experience teaches us something valuable. Kindness, however small it may seem, can transform lives and create unbreakable bonds. Think about it. How many times has a small gesture of yours changed someone's day? If you love emotional animal stories, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any. And tell me, would you have Antonio's courage to welcome a lion into your backyard? Imagine the neighbors' reaction. What would they say when they saw a little lion growing up there? Little did they know that this was just the beginning of a loyalty that would transcend boundaries. As time flew by, Simba's cub days became distant memories. That big kitten grew, and a lot. His roars were no longer childish meows, but deep bellows that made the ground in the backyard tremble slightly. His mane, once sparse, was now a majestic crown that swayed in the wind, exuding a strong smell of earth and wildness. Antonio, with a heavy heart, began to realize something he already knew deep down, but had tried to postpone. Simba was becoming an adult lion, with powerful instincts, and his backyard, no matter how much love it contained, was no longer the ideal place for a king like him. Have you ever had to make an incredibly difficult decision, one that keeps you awake at night, even knowing it was the right thing to do? Antonio was living that intensely. Watching Simba grow was immense joy, but the responsibility was even greater. He needed a vast space, other lions, an environment that honored his true nature. That backyard, which had been his cradle, was becoming too small for his magnificent essence. With a broken heart, a painful decision was made. Antonio, thinking solely of Simba's well-being, began searching for a wildlife sanctuary, a place where his lion could live with the dignity and freedom it deserved. Imagine the anguish of each call, each visit to these places, knowing that every step was a gradual goodbye. The pain of having to let go of what you love most, out of love, is perhaps one of the greatest proofs of altruism we can give. Lions, in the wild, can live up to 15 years, but in sanctuaries and captivity, with proper veterinary care and nutrition, they can exceed 20 years. Antonio knew he was ensuring a longer, fuller life for Simba. The day of farewell arrived. The smell of burning tires from the van that would take him, mixed with the sweet scent of the backyard flowers, seemed to seal that moment in memory forever. Antonio hugged Simba one last time, feeling the lion's muscular strength and the warmth of his fur. It was a silent goodbye, but with a scream trapped in his throat. Who hasn't felt that an animal understands your soul, even without words? There, at that instant, the lion seemed to comprehend his protector's sadness. This experience teaches us about the strength of surrender. Sometimes to love is to let go, to give up your own desire for the good of another. And you, have you ever had to say goodbye to someone or something you loved very much for a greater good? It's a heavy burden, isn't it? That day, silence settled in Antonio's backyard, an emptiness that was once filled with purrs and heavy paws. But would that be the last time they saw each other? Fate had other plans, and the legacy of this human-animal connection was far from over. Years passed like leaves carried by the wind. Antonio's backyard, once vibrant with Simba's presence, kept its grass trimmed and flowers colorful, but a different silence had settled there. A silence that spoke of longing. Antonio grew old, his steps became slower, and his health, which once seemed like iron, began to show signs of fatigue. Mornings no longer had the same glow, and afternoons dragged on with memories. The emptiness left by Simba's departure was never completely filled. Have you ever felt such a huge absence that it seemed like a part of you was missing? His body weakened, but Antonio's mind remained lucid, guarding a treasure trove of memories. And amidst these memories, one stood out, shining brighter each day. The image of his lion, his grown-up cub, the love of his life. It was a deep yearning, a whisper from his soul that transformed into his last wish. He needed to see Simba again, one last time, not as a whim, but as the purest need of a heart that loved immeasurably. His daughter, Clara, a sharp woman with a heart as big as her father's, noticed the urgency in Antonio's distant gaze. She saw the flame of life rekindle in him every time the subject was Simba. It seems like a sign from the universe, doesn't it? When we least expect it, a greater force guides us. Clara knew she had to do the impossible, fight against time and distance to fulfill this wish, so simple yet so grand. Lions have a surprising olfactory and visual memory. They can recognize individuals and places even after long periods of separation. Antonio's intuition that Simba would recognize him had a biological basis. Clara's task was not easy. Organizing a reunion at a wildlife sanctuary, with all the safety rules and her father's fragile health, required incredible strength and empathy. She spent weeks in contact with the sanctuary, explaining the story, the unique human-animal connection between Antonio and Simba. Every phone call, every email, was a step towards a miracle. This attitude teaches us the importance of honoring the wishes of those we love, especially when it comes to closing important life cycles. Who hasn't had a dream that seemed impossible, but with a little push and a lot of faith, could become a reality? The tension was palpable. With each passing day, Clara's hope mingled with concern for her father's health. But the promise of seeing Simba again was what kept Antonio alive. Would this long-awaited reunion be a success, or would time and nature have erased the loyalty between them? The answer was about to surprise the world. The day of the reunion dawned with a timid sun, which soon asserted itself in the sky, painting the sanctuary's savanna with golden hues. The crisp morning air carried the scent of wet earth and wildlife. Antonio, frail but with a sparkle in his eyes long unseen, arrived at the location. Each step was slow, but charged with an anticipation that warmed his soul. Clara accompanied him closely, camera in hand, heart pounding, torn between the emotion of witnessing that moment and the nervousness about the lion's reaction. Have you ever felt like time freezes and every second seems to last an eternity? And then he appeared. In the distance, an imposing figure moved with the grace of a king. It was Simba. Now an adult, his vast, majestic mane swayed with every step, and his muscles betrayed the strength that wildlife had given him. The roar he let out, deep and guttural, made the ground vibrate slightly beneath Antonio's feet. It was the same roar as always, but now charged with impressive maturity. Antonio, with his cane, took a few more hesitant steps. Simba, in turn, stopped, his eyes, previously focused on the horizon, fixed on the man who raised him. There was a moment of absolute silence, so profound you could hear your own heart beating in your chest. And then, the impossible happened. The lion, that powerful predator, began to run towards Antonio, not with aggression, but with a speed that conveyed pure euphoria. Lions are social animals and can form lasting bonds. Scent is a crucial factor in recognition, and their olfactory memory is incredibly sharp, which helps explain why Simba might have recognized Antonio even after years. Simba threw himself into the arms of his old friend, rubbing his head against Antonio's fragile body, licking his face with a tenderness that shocked everyone present. The sound of an adult lion's purr, so powerful and yet so full of love and relief, filled the air. Simba's heavy paws felt like tight hugs, and Antonio, with trembling hands, stroked his lion's mane, tears streaming down his face. It was loyalty materialized, living proof that love creates bonds that neither time nor distance nor wild nature itself can erase. Who hasn't been moved by seeing an animal demonstrate such affection, a connection so genuine it seems to transcend language? That instant was the crowning of a unique human-animal connection, a true miracle. And you, what was the most emotional reunion of your life? Did you feel a chill down your spine? The emotion was so strong, so palpable, that Clara didn't stop, filming for a second, unaware that those images were about to travel the world. Clara, her hands still trembling from the emotion of the reunion, knew she had something special on camera. The smell of the wilderness and the image of that giant lion nestled against her father, it all seemed like a dream, but it was the purest reality. That same day, she posted the video online. The title was simple, but the content was breathtaking. No one could have imagined what would happen next. Have you ever had a moment in life where, unintentionally, you created something that would spread like wildfire? In the first few hours, the video already accumulated views. What started with a few shares from friends and family quickly became an avalanche. Suddenly, Antonio and Simba's story was everywhere. The images of the lion, so majestic and yet so affectionate, melted hearts in every corner of the planet. Comments poured in by the thousands, people from different cultures, languages, and realities, all united by the same emotion. The video went viral. Major city newspapers, TV news, and the biggest digital platforms talked about the unconditional love between a man and his lion. That reunion, so intimate and personal, was now a global phenomenon. The internet, which can sometimes be such a chaotic place, transformed into a stage for the purest loyalty and the most inspiring human-animal connection many have ever seen. Isn't it fascinating how a single story can connect millions of people, overcoming geographical and cultural barriers? Animal videos have one of the highest sharing rates online, especially when they involve emotion, surprise, or unexpected bonds, as they activate reward centers in the brain linked to empathy and joy. The repercussion was so great that people began to search for the sanctuary where Simba lived, wanting to know more, wanting to help. Antonio and Simba's story was no longer just about them. It was about the power of compassion and rescue to transform lives, and about how animals teach us what truly matters. This situation teaches us a practical lesson. The power of a well-told story, especially one that touches the heart, is immense. It can transcend entertainment and generate real impact. And have you ever found yourself mesmerized by a viral animal video to the point of feeling profound emotion? What struck you the most? That video of the lion and the man wasn't just a video. It was a universal message of empathy and unconditional love, a true legacy that was just beginning to be built. What else could this story inspire in the world? The answer was about to unfold. Antonio and Simba's story is much more than a heartwarming chronicle. It's a mirror reflecting the most beautiful aspects of life's essence. It began with a simple act of rescue, a heart that opened to a helpless cub and blossomed into a human-animal connection so strong it defied time, distance, and expectations. Who could have imagined that a man and a lion would build a bond of loyalty capable of moving the planet? The reunion, that moment when the golden-maned giant snuggled into his old friend's arms, wasn't just a scene for the internet. It was living proof that love is the universal language, the force that unites, heals, and transcends. That viral instant showed us that empathy isn't just for humans. It exists in every living being, and when we cultivate it, the results are simply unbelievable. This legacy of affection and respect is what Antonio and Simba leave us. This story teaches us, brilliantly, that life is made of bonds, that the courage to love unconditionally, even when goodbye is inevitable, is always worthwhile, and that kindness, however simple it may seem, has the power to reverberate, to inspire, and to change the world around us. Whether it's the love you give to a pet, a friend, or a cause, every gesture of empathia creates ripples that spread. And have you ever had an animal that changed your life, that taught you about true love and unconditional loyalty? What was the greatest reunion of your life, the one that made you believe in the impossible? Share your experience in the comments below. We'd love to hear your story. If this journey of Antonio and Simba warmed your heart and made you reflect on the beauty of the bonds we build, be sure to check out the next video suggested by YouTube. I'm sure it will move you even more and continue to explore the incredible human-animal connections that surround us. Click now and get ready for another dose of pure emotion.